All right, so my name's Sam Lyons. We'll be talking about your 401k today. See it right there, tax-deferred vehicle. Talk about Empower a little bit and some things that you want to look at for retirement. All right, so with this retirement plan, we've heard pension, we've heard insurance. This is also another supplemental plan. It's not mandatory by any means, but it is a very beneficial option, when you tie it in with your overall retirement. All right, so give you a broad overview here. Some of the benefits of the 401k. You'll see it comes right out of your paycheck, so it's easy to set up. You don't have to connect any bank accounts, anything like that. We're going to talk a little bit about distribution options, the enrollment process, tax deferred. Some of your options when it comes to putting money into the plan. All right, so who is eligible? So part-time, full-time. You're going to be automatically enrolled once you do start employment, if you are starting employment, of course. If you're a full-time employee, it's going to set you up automatically at 3%. If you're part-time, it's going to automatically start at 1%. Now, say you don't want to do either of those. Say you don't want to contribute at all, or you want to put more. You can opt out of that, or you could up your contribution at any point, okay? The other part of the default option is, when I say default, that's if you don't take any action, if you don't even know about the account, it's going to put you into a certain type of investment. Now, the investment is going to be based on your age, okay? It's going to be a target date fund. Ignore that bright horizon. We've changed funds, I think September last year, so we'll get into that a little bit on one of the next slides. All right, so one of the main benefits of a retirement plan, things that make it easy, it's done through your payroll. So, it keeps you disciplined, and you get used to not spending your entire paycheck, if that's in your budget, of course. All right, you don't miss it you might miss it a little bit, but you generally don't miss it if you just see it coming out and you know what's being deposited into your bank account. All right, if you're somebody that does have outside plans, if say you got an IRA or an old 401k, other type of retirement plan, a benefit that a lot of people take advantage of is putting it all into one spot. And you have that option with the 401k. You consolidate, put it all into one place. The benefits of that, having it all in one place. You don't have to worry about passwords. In this day and age, you have to reset passwords all the time. You might have 10 logins. It's hard to really remember. But if you have it at one spot, it makes things a little bit easier. So that's one thing. The next thing is going to be fees. With this plan, this is a fantastic plan where the fees are very low. You're not really going to even notice them, to be honest. But some retirement plans can be a little bit more. So you have that option to put it into this plan, lower cost plan, have it all in one spot, okay? All right, so distribution options. It's kind of unique with this plan. You'll see the required distributions in that first part there. I don't love that one because it's going to be different based on everybody's age, and that's part of the Secure 2.0 Act that's come out. It's generally going to be in the 73 range. The past 5 years, everybody's coming, is it 70, 71, 72? There's a certain year, cutoff year, that it would be 73 and then 74 and then all the way to 75. All right, so just know that it's not a one-size-fits-all for the RMD. All right, if you take money out before the age of 59 and a half, there is potentially a 10% penalty on what you've put in there. But there's exceptions to that. And we got some questions that came in relating to the rule of 55. So the rule of 55 states that if you retire from that job at 55 or later and pull money out directly from the plan, don't roll it over, you leave it in the plan, it's penalty free. So you get away from that 10% early withdrawal. So that's the rule of 55. So if you retire at 54 and you want to take money out, you got to wait till 59 and a half, okay? So just know you have to retire at 55 or later to benefit from the rule of 55 rule, okay? You can take all of your Roth, if you have put Roth money or after-tax money, you can withdraw that at any point, okay? And you'll see that you could roll it over into an IRA or another employer plan. Once you do roll that over, you kind of forfeit that rule of 55 if you're trying to take advantage of that. Okay. If you are 59 and a half and you're still working, if anything later than that, you could take money out. If you're still working, you might not be able to take money out unless you have certain qualifications there. All right, so savings, how much can you put into this plan? So it's a really good benefit to have an employer plan. One of the best reasons is because you can put a good amount in there. When you compare it to an IRA, you'll see the 2025 contribution limits. It's generally going to be $7,000 unless you're over the age of 50. Then you can put an additional $8,000 or an additional $1,000 to equal $8,000 on the year. Moving that to the 401k contribution limit, you could put $23,500. If you're under the age of 50, but once you hit 50, you can put an additional $7,500, getting you to the $31,000 of tax-deferred money. If you're between the ages of 60 and 63, there's a new rule that came out this year for catch-up, and then you can put, it's really just an additional $3,750 on top of that regular catch-up. But you got to be between the ages of 60 and 63. So the max, if you're between 60 and 63, $34,750. All right, so much more than the IRA. All right, so the default option, you'll be set up pre-tax money. But what does pre-tax money mean? Pre-tax means you're just not going to pay taxes on those dollars now, with the idea is when you take them out in retirement, it's going to be counted as taxable income. So the idea behind it is, maybe you're going to be making a little bit less money in retirement than when you're working here. So it's a great benefit. If you have a good amount of income and you foresee your income is going to drop, decently in retirement. So consider that. There's a lot of stuff that's pushed online in the media that, maybe Roth is a no-brainer, pre-tax is a no-brainer, but it's really just based on you and your situation. The flip side of that is the Roth contribution. So just know that this is not a Roth IRA, this is a Roth contribution to your 401k. And what that means is you're going to pay the taxes today. The idea that you pull those out in retirement, and it is tax-free, one, on what you've already paid taxes on, but the earnings portion of it. Now, the Roth is a very powerful vehicle, especially if you're early on in your career, and say I put in $100 into this account, Roth, and then my earnings, I do fantastic, and it grows to $1 million. If I take that out, I just made tax-free money on 900 and something thousand. So consider that, the Roth, and then there's no RMDs on that Roth either. Now, to get around the earnings portion of the taxes, there's a couple stipulations you have to hit. You got to be 59 and a half, and the account's got to be open for at least 5 years. So it's really just once you put your first Roth contribution in there, it's 5 years from that date to get around that earnings tax. Okay, so the Roth, great option. If you're making less money now, you foresee you might be making more in the future, or the time value of it, because the time value is very important, where your earnings are going to accumulate and start to compound over time, where that'll be a big portion of your balance, so you could avoid that. And then there's unknowns. We don't know what taxes will be in the future, so we can only make assumptions and make good guesses on what might be the best option for you. All right, when we look at this example here on the screen, it's basing it on somebody that's got a $50,000 salary, and they're going to decide between Roth and pre-tax. Say he puts pre-tax $2,500 in, and then it brings his taxable income this year to $47,500. If he's in the 25% federal tax bracket, he's paying $11,875. Flipping it over to the Roth, it's a little bit different, because you're paying taxes on that $50,000, but you put in $1,875 into the Roth, so you're paying a little bit more in taxes now. $12,500, and then your take-home pay would be about $35,000 on the year. But what does that look like at withdrawal? This example I don't love, because you might not be in the same exact tax bracket as when you're working. But hypothetically, if you are, it basically equals out to be about the same. If you're comparing Roth or pre-tax, your lump sum withdrawals $79,751. Obviously, the Roth, you're not paying taxes on those because you've already paid taxes, but just something to consider. But no, that 25%, if it's lower than that, the pre-tax might be a better option in this situation. So you've got the pre-tax, you've got the Roth. Okay, what else do we have? This plan, you have the after-tax option. All right, this is where it kind of trips people up, gets a little confusing. So after-tax, that's Roth, of course, but then there's a separate contribution that you can make called your after-tax, okay? That one, you're paying taxes now, but if it stays after-tax contribution, when you take that out in the future, you may be paying taxes on those earnings of it. So say you put in $100 and you pay the taxes on that, but it grows to $200, you may be paying taxes on that $100 gain. With the after-tax, you're not subject to that $30,000 or $23,500 contribution limit. It's a little bit larger. It pushes up much higher. Almost double that. So another benefit of the after-tax portion is you can convert that into Roth dollars. So say we do hit our max on the year, and you want to put in more Roth, but you don't have that option because you've already maxed out. You start to pay taxes on your contribution, so it's after-tax earnings, but at some point you want to roll that into a Roth IRA. That would be called a mega backdoor conversion, so that's an option you have as well. All right, contribution accelerator. That's a great benefit if you're somebody that's not going to stay on top of things. You just want to set it up and forget it. What that really is it's going to increase at certain intervals to put more of your paycheck into your retirement savings. Okay. I really encourage people to do this. The reason being is because you could do really small changes, and if your salary goes up over time, say we just do 1% increase every year, you'll see the benefit here of just, if you start at 4% at age 25, let's say you do work 40 years, and you go up all the way to 15%, it's going to push your account, up, considerably. So you could set it up like that. I like that, kind of the set it and forget it. It'll keep you disciplined, whereas you get, maybe more pay, your contributions are going to increase over time. All right, so plan loans. They are available within this plan. A couple things to take into consideration with loans. There are certain things that you have to hit to be able to be eligible. When you do take that money out, you're lowering your balance, so you're kind of missing out on those potential earnings over time. And as you pay the money back, you're paying the interest, of course, back to yourself. But you might be losing some of the tax advantages of it, so it's not quite as simple as just taking the money out. You still get the investment returns on whatever the prior balance is. There's some things that you want to consider if you do take that loan. All right, so I mentioned some stipulations that you'd have to hit. You see that here. Things like buying a primary residence, education, if you're potentially being evicted from your home, medical expenses, funerals, repairs to your primary residence, and then if outside of all that, if you have a heavy need, you would submit the request, and then it would be approved if it was eligible if it was outside of any of those other options. It must be at least $2,500 to qualify. All right, so when you do go to take money out, you've got lots of options. You can, one, leave it in the plan. If it's less than $1,000, they're going to automatically roll that into just a regular IRA, so just be aware of that. But say you have $50,000 or so, and you want to start taking money out. You could take it all out day one. Just know that if it's pre-tax dollars, you're potentially paying taxes on $50,000 of additional income. But you could break that up. You could set it up, say I want $500 a month out of my account. I could set that up. I could do a percentage-based. I could roll it into a new plan. I mentioned the IRA earlier. You can roll it into an IRA, but just know that if you do roll it into an IRA and you're originally planning that age 55, the rule of 55 withdrawal, you might forfeit that, okay? So, to keep it in the plan, that's the only way to qualify for the age rule of 55. And you could just leave it there. You could keep it invested, let it grow long term, take it as you need it, or you could set up recurring payments, but you've got many options when it comes to the distribution. All right. Prior to the age of 59, if you are still working, there is another option for hardship withdrawals. Say you don't want to do the loan. A lot of those hardships, they fall basically within the same list that we saw earlier: the purchase of a home, education expense, medical expenses, and then really any unforeseen expenses that you cannot meet. You will have to submit a good amount of supporting paperwork to qualify, but just know that that's kind of the extreme examples if you need money to pull from your account. You can still pull your Roth money, okay? So if you have Roth money in there, you can pull that out at any time. If you're still working, you can take the money out, any type of dollar out at 59 and a half or later. All right, so getting into specifics for you and your planning needs, a little bit of what I do is I'm an advisor where I help employers plan for retirement. So I will generally sit down with somebody and we'll build out their plan. I'll say, okay, when do you want to retire? That's kind of step one, right? How much do you need is going to be the next step, something people really don't consider. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. Everybody's different. They come in, I read this thing on the internet. Everybody has to have $1 million at retirement if they want to live a comfortable retirement. But, it's different across the board. What if you don't need much? What if you're not going to travel? What if you have a pension, Social Security? Those are things you want to consider. Also, inflation, cost of living, healthcare prices. You're going to stay here. You're going to move someplace maybe warmer, whatever it might be. Factor those in or just start to consider them, even if you are far away from retirement. All right, so investments here. So you have a full list of investment options that are going to be selected by the plan sponsor, okay? Those are going to be listed here on this page, and they were called Bright Horizon before. Now you'll see the Teamster UPS Life Path as the target date. So the target date, those are going to be the ones that say 2030, 2035, 2040, and so on. But let's say we don't want to do that. Maybe we want to manage our account on our own. You've got pretty much any sector that you would want built within the plan. So you'll see the real estate, international, small cap, mid cap, and also a stable value. That's going to be almost like a fixed type of an account that's not subject to interest rate fluctuations. But then you've got other fixed income options. Short-term bond fund, you have the general U.S. debt fund that you could invest in as well. It's also a balanced fund, basically 50% stocks, 50% bonds. All right, when determining what's the best option for you, you have resources like myself to reach out to help you figure that out. But ask yourself, can I pick my own investments? Do I want to learn? Do I want to put time into that? If you're not one of those people that wants to really do anything on your own, you have the target date funds, of course, but you also have something that might be more customized to you, and that's My Total Retirement. That's a professionally managed account, and that basically opens the doors to more advice. As opposed to if you're a target date fund, there's some limitations that we have on providing advice as a fiduciary, but My Total Retirement opens those doors. So with My Total Retirement, it's really your customized option. So it's one that's really built around you and your situation. How much do you need? What else do you have? Do you have pension, Social Security, outside investments? That will all be taken into account when you're determining, or when we are determining your portfolio and managing that ongoing. Okay, so think My Total Retirement, that's your customized option that's built on not just looking at your age, but many other data points. Now, the target date fund, that's just going to be based on your age or the year that you do want to retire. So the way that those work is they'll put you into a target date around the year you're going to turn age 60. So let's say I was born in the year 2000. it's going to put me into the 2060 Life Path Fund. The way that that works is it says this guy has a lot of time to invest. He could weather some volatility, so it puts me into pretty much all equities. Equities are going to be more aggressive and more volatile than the fixed income side. But as I get closer to 2060, it gradually starts to shift over. And this example here, those little pie chart things, see, I think it says 94% and 6% if I have 40 years to retirement. But the next one, the fixed income, the blue, starts to get a little bit bigger. Now that's 10%. And then 20 years to retirement, then I've got 24% in fixed income. And those are just examples. Every fund's going to be a little bit different, but just something to know that they do get more conservative as you get closer to that date. But you could change the date, because not everybody's retiring at 60. Some might retire at 55 or 70, but you could choose the target date fund that reflects that. If you're somebody that doesn't like either of those options and they don't like the funds available that the plan has selected as the options, we have something called a self-directed brokerage option. The way that that works is it's really, opens the doors to many types of investments. If you want individual stocks, individual bonds, whatever it might be, you have that option within the plan. It basically is a different account within the account, is the way I like to think of it. There are certain stipulations, amount you have to hold in your regular account before transferring it over, but that's really for your more experienced and seasoned investors. There's a lot more risk investing in individual type companies. All right, some tools and resources. All right, I'm assuming everybody's been online if they do have an Empower account, set it up and everything, right? But if not, I would say, today, if you know that you have money in this plan or you want to get started, go register your account. All right, the easiest way to do it is you could do it on the website or the app. The app, it's just type in Empower, and it'll look something like that. And then the website is just Teamster-UPS-401kplan.com. When you get there, you'll see a sign in and register. If you've never been there before, you're gonna hit the register. It's gonna walk you through some steps there, what you need to, how to identify you. I will say that you're gonna wanna do this for the security guarantee, which we'll get to in a second here. When you do get on there, it's going to walk you through everything, beneficiaries. You could change your savings rate directly through the website or app at any time. You don't really need this plan number, but if you do want to take a picture of it, that's just the plan number for the UPS plan, but you certainly don't need to know it. Now, account security. When it comes to these accounts, Empower offers something called our security guarantee, where if anything does happen, we make the account whole as long as you follow some guidelines here. It's really going to be registering your account is going to be the main one. When you get there, you're just going to make sure that you include a phone number, an email if it's not already on your account for two-factor authentication. But that's going to be the main one. Registering the account, make sure you're following good practices for security so that you do qualify for that guarantee. All right, types of passwords, things like that. You're going to want to make sure you hit the guidelines for the password to qualify, and then there's other safeguards that are available online that you could run through. All right, so like I said, register your account, Teamster-UPS-401kplan.com. It's pretty straightforward. If you do have any issues moving forward, reach out to me. I've put some brochures at the front. Reach out to me at any time. We'll get you squared away. And then there's other options. We could provide advice, like if you're in that my total retirement, we could help education-wise. But really, we're here as a resource to help you get ready for retirement before or after. So even if you are retired and you need assistance, you want to look at your projected income, combining everything. And we really do that holistically. We could help get a game plan for you moving forward, okay? That is all I have for you presentation-wise. What questions do we have? He's asking, can the Rule of 55 go away? Potentially. It's probably outside my pay grade for determining that, but yeah. As we've seen, there's been a lot of changes to retirement plans in the past few years, and it happens pretty fast, right? The Secure 2.0 Act, there's a lot of things that are changing within that do affect the retirement plans. But yeah, it hypothetically could, but don't foresee that in the future. So the question is, once you hit the annual limit for your contribution to either pre-tax or Roth, which would be, again, be that $23,500, unless you're over the age of 50, then you open up the $7,500 catch-up. But say you hit $31,000 today, and you want to put more. That's where the after-tax contribution. So again, it gets a little confusing because the Roth is technically an after-tax contribution, but the after-tax contribution would basically be another separate line item. You'd have your pre-tax, your Roth, and then your after-tax. The after-tax is there because you can't really contribute much to a Roth IRA, and there's certain stipulations you have to hit. But the after-tax contribution, I believe I can't think of the number off the top of my head, it's like 69,000 cumulative that you could put in on the year. And then you can, if you wanted to put that into a Roth IRA, you can roll that in. You would open up a Roth IRA, you can do it in Empower, do it anywhere, and roll it into that plan. Some plans allow Roth conversions within the plan. This plan does not right currently, but again, that's plan specific. It could change at any time. But ideally, that would be nice to have where you could convert it to Roth dollars within the plan as opposed to rolling it out. But you do have that option to put it into a different plan, even if you're still working and contributing. Correct. His question is relating back to the conversion within the plan. So you'll hear some plans that, say I've got $100,000 pre-tax, and I just found out about the Roth. Some plans allow you to convert that into Roth dollars within the plan. This plan does not currently. So your next option would be, it has to be through contributions. So say I want to put after-tax dollars in there, or just put Roth, but then I hit the limit for the Roth, say 31,000. After that, I would put after-tax contributions, and then to convert that, I would have to first transfer it to a Roth IRA or a non-deductible IRA, and then convert those dollars within that IRA to Roth, if that makes sense. Do you have to be 59 and a half,
59 and a half
and retired to take money out?
Yes.
No. So there's some plans you do. So again, a lot of things in retirement planning are going to be plan specific. So if you do type it into Google or look online, it's going to give you general information, but it's specific to this plan. Say I'm 58 and I am still working. I could take my Roth contributions out or my after-tax. Can't touch the pre-tax contribution, but I could take those. Once you hit 59 and a half and you are still working, you could take money out at any time, any type of dollar out of the plan. Okay, so just know that if you're still working, it has to be 59 and a half, or it has to be Roth or after-tax contributions. So the question is, after 5 years, you're fully vested because these are your contributions day one. So say I work 1 month and I put in $1,000 and then I leave. I'm fully vested. Those are my dollars. This vesting would really refer to employer contributions, but there's no match or anything with this plan that you have to worry about. So you're fully vested on the contributions you put in day one. I think I mentioned 5 years. That was in regard to the Roth portion. So to qualify for the tax-free withdrawal on a Roth, you have to have the account open or the first contribution for 5 years. Okay, so only on the Roth, correct? Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing else for 5 years outside of just the Roth first contribution. From day one, even if you stop contributions for a year and then you restart it, it's just that first contribution date. Okay, and that's just to qualify for the tax-free withdrawal on the earnings on the Roth. Okay. Yeah, so his question is relating to upon retirement, do you have to take money out? Is there a timeline that you have to take all your money out? And the answer is no. For example, say I retire today and I'm 60 years old and my pension, Social Security, what else I have is more than enough to cover what I need. I don't have to pull anything out until my RMD year. So that's my required minimum distribution. Once I hit that year, then I have to take out a certain percentage out of my account. But you don't have to deplete it or anything. Yes?
Then you're saying then.
All right, well, thank you so much for having me today. I'll hang out a little bit if you do have any questions. Thank you.